My name is Right Reverend Laurie Denman. I'm an archpriestess of the Carillion Nativist Church of Wicca. I'm joining you from Chosen Path Church's temple in Jacksonville, Florida. I have several roles that I play within the Wiccan community. First is here at Chosen Path Church, where I am the temple keeper and high priestess. I mentor students. I make this temple space available to not only my congregation, but also other pagans within the community. How I interact with other pagans within my own local community is through the Northeast Florida Pagan Leadership Coalition, which is a group of pagan leaders and clergy that come together for the purpose of supporting all paths in the pagan community, not only internally but also externally through getting involved in civil rights issues, working on interfaith issues with other religious leaders in town, and just letting the community know that we are here, we are strong, and we are many. In my non-local community, I am very active within my own tradition. I am the CFO and treasurer for Carillion Educational Ministries, which is the seminary of the church. Through that, I interact with the board of directors, sending them not only financial information, but also account information, membership totals, those kind of things for witchschool.com, which is our online seminary. In addition to that, at Witch School, I am also a co-dean of mentors with several other great pagan leaders who invest back into Witch School for the education that they've received. In addition to that, I am the master of records for the Carillion Church. Anytime someone applies to our outer or inner court, those applications are processed by me. I think that's everything. Strong and vibrant. It is very diverse. I count my community not only the people within my tradition, but also other traditions that I interact with. The Aquarian Tabernacle Church is very, very active, and I had the great pleasure of getting to know Lady Belladonna and Lord Dusty at the Spring Lustration this year, where they were our honored guests. So I interact with ATC folks quite a bit. We also have ATC members as part of Nephoplic. It was a familiar tradition until the 70s, till the 1970s, which at that time the ancestors gave approval to expand outside of the Carillion, the High Corel family, and has grown around the world ever since, through either the tradition or through witchschool.com, which is our seminary. We're in 113 countries around the world. So although the origins were within a very localized family, the outcome of that has been a global movement. We are a 501c3 church. We are recognized by the IRS in the United States as a church. Many of our temples around the world have also gotten the legal standing that they need in their individual countries. We have a strong presence in the UK and across Europe. We're represented in South Africa. We're represented in Australia and the Philippines. So normally, wherever a strong temple comes to fruition, they gather legal status with that. To me, when I'm talking to someone that knows absolutely nothing about Wicca, I define it as a person that has agreed to do two things. One, live by the Wiccan Rede, which is simply do what you will but harm none. The other is to honor the threefold rule. Now, various traditions within the Wiccan community have definitions around those two very simple statements. They vary from tradition to tradition, but the foundation is universal to all Wiccans. Within my own tradition, we feel the Wiccan Rede is how you define a noble and honorable life. It does not mean that you give up the right to defend yourself should others try to harm you, but it does prevent you from doing anything that would be perceived as harmful knowingly. Obviously, we all do harmful things without knowing that. And that's where the threefold rule comes in. Some Wiccan traditions literally translate that into whatever energy you put out, you'll get that back 3 times. Within our tradition, we feel like karma, which is another word for it, is not a reward or a punishment, but rather the universe trying to teach you the lesson that you came into the life cycle agreeing to learn. So if you put out positive energy, it will come back to you. If you put out negative energy, it will come back to you repeatedly, any number of times, in any number of life cycles, until you learn the lesson of not to do that. I think other than my official roles, my more personal role is to be a positive representation of the religion. Wiccans usually do not postulate, we don't recruit, we simply make ourselves available to discuss and educate people that are interested or just have a desire to learn. I think it's very important to be out of the broom closet, so to speak, if one can do this safely. It allows the world to see you as a normal human being who has a spiritual journey that may or may not be similar to theirs, but it allows them to see you as a real person and not the stereotypes or the caricatures that are put out in media. I think I have many. One is prayer. I pray a lot. Prayer is a universal communication with the divine that any religion probably teaches, but it is how I manifest, because when I pray to both the God and the goddess. My personal patron is Hecate, and I pray to her to allow me to make decisions at crossroads. My life has been very full of crossroads, and she has been very, very wonderful to me, allowing me to see possible solutions and outcomes that I might not have otherwise considered. I also pray to my male patron, who is Anubis. And Anubis is from the Egyptian pantheon, and he is the gatekeeper to the underworld. When an Egyptian died, they would be met by Anubis at the underworld, and he would weigh their heart, which is where the Egyptians believed that the soul was housed. And if that heart was lighter than a feather, they could pass into the underworld. I pray to Anubis to allow me to make decisions keeping my heart as light as a feather. In other words, to make them for the right reasons. Another way that I practice Wicca is I practice magic. And there are many, many, many forms of magic. Some people do spells, some people do energy work, some people use stones or herbs. the variety is endless. For me, I do energy work. I draw energy in from the goddess and the god, and I work on manifestations, whether it's for myself or someone else, but that's the magic that I do. Oh goodness, my life has changed so much since I became Wiccan. How I became Wiccan is kind of unusual because I left the Catholic Church when I was 23. After that time, I did a lot of investigation of various religions, but there was always a yes but. Either it was, I can't eat meat, which I'm a meat eater, or there was a political situation that I didn't side with the religion on, or there was some basic tenet to their teaching that I just could not wholeheartedly give myself to. So I developed a set of rules that I used as my moral compass. One is I could do anything I wanted as long as I didn't hurt anyone, including myself. Two was that all life was sacred. And when I define life, I mean not only human or animal or plant, but everything is made up of living cells. Everything has molecules. Everything is alive. And so all are equally valid in my mind. And the third one was that I had to give back to the world, that the world had to be better off for me being allowed to live in it. One year, 20 years later, we were sitting around a campfire at Girl Scouts with the other leaders, and I gave a check to one of my co-leaders that does a Christian ministry to Jamaica every year. And I had been doing this for a long time. But this year she was particularly insistent that because I was supporting her Christian ministry, I had to be Christian. And I told her no, I had to love her. Not necessarily what she was doing, but I loved her and I knew it was important to her, which is why I supported her each year. She asked me what I believed in, and I told her what I've just shared with you. And another leader in the campfire circle piped up, I know exactly what you are, Laurie. And I said, well, really? Tell me. And she says, you're Wiccan. At that time, we had several girls in the troop that were exploring Wicca, and I'm like, oh no, that's just something the girls are getting into. That's not anything serious. And she says, okay, read a couple of books, and she gave me 2 or 3 titles, and then come talk to me. Well, I read the books. I went and talked to her. And I told her, I'm Wiccan! So I became what's known as a Barnes & Noble witch. I read everything I could get my hands on and did absolutely nothing with it, other than maybe a protection spell over my daughter's apartment door when she went off to college and that kind of thing, but not really anything that I would call religious. Then in 2010, I found myself in a situation where I had complete freedom and I could pursue actually learning about the religion in a one-on-one situation with a live human being. And I did this through a Wicca 101 class, Carillion Wicca 101 class that was being offered at a local UU that was advertised on the Pagan Pride page. And the more I learned as I was going through that course, the more it spoke to me. And only several lessons in, I'm like, okay, I have no yes but here. And I continued through that course. I discovered witchschool.com through that course and did register, became a lifetime member, and finished all 3 of my degrees through that. When we do degrees, we assign mentors to each student. So I developed very close personal relationships with my mentors who were very, very patient with all of my questions. And that's how I found Wicca. Now, I've learned about a lot of other traditions in the meantime, but luckily I found the perfect one for me right out of the door. Through all of this education, the thing that has added value to me personally is I have found the tools to handle what life throws me. My life has been quite a roller coaster, but it has allowed me to process that instead of looking at it as obstacles or challenges or something that I have to fight my way through. I sit back and I think, okay, universe, what lesson are you trying to teach me out of this situation? And it allows me a sense of calm, a sense of patience, and a sense of hope to know that I will figure that answer out and I will learn that lesson. I think it offers those same things. It teaches you respect for everyone. It teaches you ways to manifest in your life the things that you want to see through all the different avenues of magic that are available. It gives you the moral compass in those two simple statements that you can guide your life by. And if more people do that, then the world will be a better place for it. It is unfortunate that it has not only been associated with the word witch in all of its Hollywood horror book fairy tale connotations, instead of people actually getting educated as to what a Wiccan means and knowing that we are an earth-based religion that works with deity, that works with the elements to bring good into the world. So I think Wicca has a avenue for the world to gain that connection to deity that is out of love and nurturing instead of fear, that it is a relationship with each other, that we can live in peace with each other because we know that we're all equally valid.